It's not about changing your weight, your shape, your face and going out and looking. It's about changing your thoughts. Everything comes back to believing you're worth it. So the only thing you need to do ever to have love, including the love of yourself, is to believe you're worth it. When you know you're worth it, then you can go out and get it because you know you're worth it. But when you don't know you're worth it, you can go out and look for it, but you'll always reject it because you're coming from it with, I don't really think I'm worth it.
It's Jordan from the Mulligan brothers, and today's interview is with Marisa Peer, award-winning therapist and developer of the RTT method, and author of the book that has just come out, Tell Yourself a Better Lie, which is such an interesting concept, and we dive into it into detail. So today's video is sponsored by mulliganbrothers.com, where you can now buy the Not a Journal, just been released, the official Mulligan Brothers journal. And also, I want to link down below all Marisa Peer's stuff as well, where you can also find the new book, Tell Yourself a Better Lie. Before that, let's jump into this interview. So, just for everybody who doesn't know, please introduce yourself and what you do.
My name is Marisa Peer. I come from the UK, and I've been a therapist my entire adult life, but I created my own brand of therapy called RTT, Rapid Transformational Therapy, because I wanted people to know that you can get help faster. Also created the I'm Enough movement. And I love what I do, and I'm on a mission to help people get better really quickly. In fact, last year we had our RTT go into over 500 schools in the UK, and it's just come to America. In something I created called Installing a Cheerleader, where instead of having a critic that goes, well, you can't do that, we now have a cheerleader. So I'm all about making people feel good about themselves instead of feeling bad about themselves.
I'm really excited to talk about the RTT stuff. Just because I feel like, for myself, my idea of therapy and transformational work it feels like it has to be done over a long period of time, and it's this long process that we have to go through. And to read a little bit about RTT and talk about it will be really interesting. Just before we jump into that, what were the early days like for yourself? Like, was this something that you was interested in straight away?
No, I was very influenced by my father, who was a head teacher and just an amazing guy. And he believed that every child was super smart and that his job was to make every kid feel important. He used to always say to me, imagine every child has a sign on their head saying, please make me feel significant. And I've since worked with many suicidal teens, always say the same thing. I just don't feel I matter. So my dad was an influence because he showed me that you can make people feel better about themselves very quickly. And I always thought I'd be a teacher like him, but then I decided to become a therapist instead. But it's kind of funny how I've gone full circle. I kind of am a teacher now. I teach people all over the world. I've taught 11,000 people my method. And I speak at events a lot. And I've written a lot of books. So what he wanted me to be was a teacher. And I feel like I am now, but just in a different way.
I think the going into sort of what you've done over these last few years as well, is breathtaking, the amount of people you've reached so far through the books and the work. I think just to go back to early days, and to give people a background of what your early life was like before you found therapy. I think one of the things for me is that there's an idea that we've had, especially people who work within therapy, that they've had to have gone through something. I don't know if that's the case for yourself, and if it is required.
So for me, I literally had a house with a white picket fence around it. And my father was this very eminent head teacher. I had an older brother, a younger sister. And I always felt like a freak because my father, like many people who are gifted at teaching, was all about other people's kids. He was paid to do that. And he wasn't a bad person, but he was so invested in other people's children. He just wasn't invested in us. And my brother was a clever one. My sister was a very cute, pretty one. And I just felt like this thing. And it's interesting because you start like that and then you realize that you carry it with you. So eventually I realized that I was carrying all this luggage of my childhood with me. My mother was always sick. My father was never sick. My parents were extremely unhappily married. So it was interesting for me to know what it feels like to be unhappy, but I didn't have an underprivileged life. We weren't starved, we weren't beaten, but it's interesting when you're a child, if your needs aren't met for whatever reason, you form a belief, nobody's going to meet my needs. And you go through life with this belief, I can't get my needs met. And that was certainly the case for me. I had a belief that I would never get my needs met, that I better have a great job like my dad, because that's the only thing you could do. So I was very influenced, but also then I realized that I was talking myself into it, and I realized I could also talk myself out of it. So I think I wouldn't change anything about my childhood, because it made me realize that it doesn't matter where you've come from, it matters where you are and where you're going, and that you can spend your life waiting for your dad or indeed your mum to say, you're a great kid, I'm proud of you. But after you've grown up, it's kind of your job. You have to start to parent yourself. Whatever you want to hear in your life, don't wait for them. Do it yourself. And that was a changing moment for me, to realize I was waiting. You know, many of us have this belief, I've got to earn love, work for love, chase love, run after love. And actually, the truth is, you don't have to do any of that. You have to believe you're worth it, and then it will come to you.
I love that. I had a quote off your website. Being rejected can sometimes be the best thing that happens to you.
Certainly for me, you know, my first boyfriend when I was 17 broke my heart, and I got asked to leave college because I didn't work very hard. I got fired out of a job. It was only like a part-time job, but now I look back and all of those things gave me that I'll show you. Even being a kid who wasn't viewed as the smart one or the pretty one, it gave me that I'll show you attitude. And I sometimes think if you come from a very cosseted background where you're given everything, you don't have that drive or that edge to go out and have that I'll show you. So everything that went wrong in my life, even my teacher saying I'd never amount to anything, it all gave me a, I'll show you. And I went out and did it because I wanted to prove myself. But if I hadn't had people who didn't believe in me, maybe I wouldn't have felt I needed to prove myself. I look back now, you know, being fired from a job I absolutely loved. And I went to America and met someone else and got together, and it ended up being one of the best things that ever happened. So many things that you seem to find terrible, being dumped, being fired, being asked to leave university, end up being the best thing that could ever have happened to me.
Is there a type of person that it takes to be to turn those negatives into positives, or is it something that you actively have to do?
When you have a brilliant brain, we all have an amazing brain, so we all have the same choice. You can rationalize why you feel so bad, or you can talk yourself out of it. It's not fair that this guy that I really like has dumped me. I'm never going to get over it. He's the only person in the world. Or you can go, you know what, everything you loved in me, it's still in me. You didn't pack it up when you left and go, by the way, when I leave, I'm taking everything with me that I ever loved about you. When a relationship ends, everything that person loved about you is still there. So now you have a choice. You don't want me anymore. Or you can go, well, we've just grown out of each other, but everything you loved in me, someone else will love in me too. So I don't think it's a type of person. I think it's a type of choice. Rationalize why you feel so bad, or talk yourself out of it. Because, you know, we do have a choice. We can all be negative or positive. We can go every day, oh, I hate my life. And, you know, COVID's made the world so miserable and I can't find the right job. Or you could say, no, I can do all of those things. You can choose being negative or positive, but you can't choose what it does to your body. If you could look inside into the inflammation, the cortisol, the stress hormones you make when you say things like, my job is killing me, this commute is killing me, this paperwork is driving me crazy, I'm dying under my taxes, you would never, ever even say it again, because it has such a negative effect on you. And it's like saying, I'm terrified, I'm excited, this is killing me, it's challenging me. I got an awful memory, got a great memory. If I look at a cake, I get fat. I got a fantastic metabolic rate. You can choose which one to say. And the thing about the mind is it doesn't know, and it certainly doesn't care if what you tell it is good or bad, true or false, right or wrong. So if you're going to say, if I look at a cake, I gain a pound, you might as well say, I've got a great metabolic rate, because whatever you tell your mind is probably going to become your reality.
So I think self-talk is one of those things that we hear about. Some of the things that when I hear you talking about it though is like physiological things, like actual physical changes within the body just through the power of self-talk. Like, how powerful is self-talk?
Well, we can do it right now for the audience. I'll do it with you. So just put your hand in front of your mouth and close your eyes if you wouldn't mind. Just for a couple of seconds, I want you to imagine you're holding half of a big, fat, juicy lemon. I want you to squish that lemon and breathe in and feel that citrusy smell. I want you to imagine that all the lemon juice is coming to the surface. Now open your mouth and shove that lemon in your mouth and bite into all the lemon segments and start sucking the juice out of that lemon and swirl it around your mouth until your taste buds pucker and swell. Keep sucking and biting and chewing and swirling pure fresh lemon juice around your mouth. Eat that half a lemon, bite into it, chew it, suck it, and just open your eyes. And you'll find that you thought you were eating a lemon. You knew that you weren't eating a lemon. It's not a trick. You know that you're not doing it, but your mind believes you are, even when you know you're not. And you start to pump out saliva to a thought because there is no lemon, but actually there is a lemon. It's in your imagination. So when you say I'm eating a lemon because that acid will wash away tooth enamel, your mind starts to pump out saliva to dilute it. So every thought you think has a physical effect on your body. You know, if you think about something sad, your eyes fill up with tears. If you think about something embarrassing, you might blush. Think about something sexual, you can become very aroused. And you think about food, your tummy rumbles. So every day we think a thought and our body begins to make that thought real, which is fine when you think about eating lemons or having sex with somebody. But what happens is when you think a thought about failing or not being good enough or not being able to lose weight or having a terrible memory or being unable to speak to groups, you are actually making that thought real. And if only we were all taught every thought you think is a blueprint that your mind and body are working to make real, we think better blueprints. You know, you can all wake up and go, oh my God, today's a nightmare. I'm so stressed. I'm losing my mind. But that's a blueprint and you have to change it. Of course, you can have bad days, bad moments, but you have to pull back from that so it becomes not an everyday occurrence that you always think negative thoughts. And the easiest way to stop it is to just look at your language. You know, your words shape your reality. If you don't like your reality, changing your language is the fastest way to fix it. So I was actually having a call with a journalist on Saturday, and he said, I was terrified that I'd lost your number. And I thought, isn't that funny? He used the word terrified when really he was probably a little bit bothered and slightly annoyed because he could have found my number. I'm not hard to find, but he used the word terror. I'm terrified. And many of my clients who suffer with stress will say, I'm terrified. This is a nightmare. This weekend was a disaster. What happened? My internet crashed and it was a disaster. The drive here has been torture. I tried to get some gas and it was hell at the petrol station. It's like, it's not really hell at the petrol station. It isn't really a nightmare going on the M25, and it certainly isn't torture being in a store lining up to buy food. But if you use those words, your mind really believes you are going through hell, torture, and a nightmare. And so we really got to pay attention to our language patterns. So for something good, you should turn it up. It was amazing. It was freaking amazing. It was incredible. And for something you don't want to experience, you should turn it down. So you should never say, I've got a chronic headache. I'm chronically tired. I'm absolutely exhausted. I'm famished. I'm starving. You should say, I'm a little bit dehydrated. I'm a little stressed. I do need to eat. But don't use those crazy words like stress, nightmare, because they become your reality when they're not your reality at all.
Aside from talking to somebody like yourself, what is the method for creating the awareness?
Awareness of where you are. I think one of the fastest ways is to ask someone. I mean, I was talking to someone the other day and I said, do you notice how many times you say nightmare? I said, you say it every 12th word. And she was saying, you know, I got a modeling contract. I think it was for L'Oreal. Said that was a nightmare. And then I got a movie, nightmare. And then I got on a plane and these men tried to stop me. Nightmares. But that's not really a nightmare, is it? Getting a modeling contract for L'Oreal is the fantasy dream come true. Being asked to be in a movie is not a nightmare. Isn't that what you wanted? She said, yes, but because you keep using that word, you feel like you're in terror all the time. And so the fastest way to work out what's going on is to listen to how you describe yourself. In fact, someone wrote to me and said, you'll never believe what happened. I've had painful feet my entire life. I can't actually wear heels and I can't walk on cobbles. And then I realized, what do I say every day? I just can't stand it. I can't stand it when my kids don't put the jar back on the peanut butter. I can't stand it when my husband leaves his clothes or I can't stand it when my kids walk across the carpet in their shoes. And I must say that 50 times a day. And I stopped saying it because I heard you speak, and you never believe it, but in 12 days, my feet stopped being painful. And I loved that she realized that she was using one expression over and over again. In fact, a doctor said to me, I had a brain tumor and I'm a doctor, but guess what I said every day? This is doing my head in. And she said, and I have no doubt that I somehow created that. You might think that's really out there. How could you create a brain tumor? But, even doctors and scientists don't understand yet fully how the mind turns into our descriptions. But, often when people say, I'm losing my shit, I worked some research, I've got chronic diarrhea. And we traced it back when he began to say that every day. He'd say it all the time. I'll lose my shit if I'm going to lose my shit if that goes wrong. And lo and behold, he started to get terrible diarrhea because the mind is very literal. You've got to be so careful how we talk to ourselves because we don't realize just how literal it is.
Personally, for myself, I had really bad body dysmorphia around 5 or 6 years ago, and I used to look in the mirror and always say, I'm disgusting, I look disgusting, I hate my body, I look horrible. And even though I can look back at those photos now, and I was actually in all right shape, but I really did feel I was disgusting. But because of that, I just could not lose the weight. And I remember it was constantly up and down. And the day that I decided that I would start loving myself and positively self-talking, I finally got in control of that weight loss journey. Talking specifically of weight loss, is there advice that you've got just on the side of self-talk?
The whole diet industry, it fascinates me because it's all based on abuse. Do a punishing workout. Starve your body, punish those pounds, get on the scales and feel bad about yourself. And the only way to love the body, to have a body you love, is to love the body you have. So when you start off going, oh, look at me, I got fat legs and I don't quite look right, so I'm going to have to deny myself food and go to the gym and do the plank and go running in the rain. Great if you love that. But if you hate that and you're making yourself do it, and you're talking about your body with hatred, it will become even more hateful to you when you come at it like, well, this is my body. It's actually an amazing body. It does so much for me. Do I really want to eat a Pop-Tart in the morning? Or wouldn't it be nicer to have a green juice and possibly some eggs? And maybe I could look at my body as love. I'm not going to have a burger and chips. I'm going to have a salad. I'm going to eat vegetables because I'm going to do one loving thing for my body. And if you do one loving thing, it will do so many things back. So the biggest thing is to get out of the abuse, the self-hatred, the denial, the punishment, the forcing your body to do what it doesn't want to do in order to have the body you think you should have. And then the second thing, which is really fascinating, is to understand none of this is your fault. You are hardwired and super coded to want sugar. When you were cavemen, sugar was so rare that if you found honey, your mind would remember exactly where it was. And you wake up and you go, I need to go back and get more. You are hardwired to go back to the honey, back to the ripe mangoes until they were all gone because it was so rare. And to this day, we say things like, that Ben and Jerry's, it's calling my name. There's a chocolate cake in the fridge. No one says, it's the lettuce, you see. I just keep going back for another bit. I can't resist those peas. That celery, I just keep going back. They say, but when I have cake or ice cream or cookies, I keep going back. That's your primitive wiring that kept you alive. When you see food and you think, I wasn't even hungry, but somebody put some donuts, and I ate 4 of them, because that again is wiring. In tribal times, if you didn't eat food when it was in front of you, you could die because you didn't know when it was coming back. So many of the things that we do is nature's desire to keep us alive, and you can't fight that, but you can work around it. And the hardest one is loss. All pain is linked to loss. No one says, hey, I had a little newborn baby and it's lost so much weight. They go, oh, they keep saying it's losing weight, and that's a bad thing. And so there is nothing good you can lose. We lose our mind, we lose our job. A lot of us in COVID lost our businesses. Some of us lost our homes. We lost our freedom. There is no loss that's good. The mind believes that all loss is bad. And even more, you got to get back what you think you've lost. It's why people lose faith. So it's why when a team loses, they go, we'll win next year, because the minute you lose, you think, but I got to get back. I'm going to get back with that person who dumped me so I can dump them. And it's no different with the way your mind will try so hard to get back what it thinks you've lost. And so if you want to lose weight, lose weight, you can say shed, reduce, drop, discard. Just close your eyes for a minute right now. And everyone on the call can do this too. I want you to, when I say the word lose, loss, losing, I want you to just briefly think of what comes up in your mind when you say lose, loss, and losing. So when you think about losing, loss, loss, what comes to mind for you? Open your eyes, and what comes to mind?
For me, it's death.
But if I said close your eyes now, we'll say a different word, which is shedding. Now I'm going to say another word, discarding, dropping, reducing. What pictures come up? You can open your eyes and you think of shedding, dropping, reducing, and discarding.
For me, it goes to like diet and like more a lot lighter stuff for sure.
The thing is, it's not death, is it? It's different. So you can never use the word loss, because your mind is hardwired to get back everything you've lost. But if you say I'm going to shed some weight, drop some weight, discard a few pounds, there's no pain there. Mm-hmm. And you can do it much more effectively. So the fastest way to lose weight is to stop talking about losing weight, because loss is bad and gain is good, and the mind will never believe it to be anything other than that.
Wow. Okay. So where can somebody go, and what is the best way to change the words that we use on a day-to-day basis? Because we seem to all use fairly similar words.
One of the best things is to get this book, because this book, which I think is like £10, it's got 4 audios in it. One of them is called How to Install Your Cheerleader. So we have a critic that goes, oh, you can't do that. But when you have a cheerleader who cheers you on, suddenly you feel that you can drop some pounds, go to the gym, get the job of your dreams, or the partner, or the pay rise. And so there's a lot of ways to feel good about yourself, but the fastest one is to install this cheerleader. That's what I was doing in schools last year in the UK, and now I'm doing in America. We just did it in Oregon, and they said it was amazing how it changed these children. So the fastest way, well, there's lots of things. First of all, you could have these little bracelets that say I'm enough. I wear them all the time. They all got a little twisted. So if you write I'm enough on your fridge, print it on your pillows, you might see I've got it on some little ornaments here. I have it all over my house. Join the I'm enough movement and state it a lot. Everything that's wrong with people comes down to really not feeling enough. You can take drug addicts, alcoholics, people who binge, people who starve, people who hoard, people who are compulsive shoppers, and they all have the same problem. I'm not enough, and so I need more. Same thing with needing more followers on social media, more praise, being needy. And again, if you're a kid and your needs aren't met, you form a belief, well, they're never going to be met. But that isn't true. You can meet your own needs. So just saying every day, I'm enough, put it on your phone. Make your phone alerts go off, write it on your fridge, write it on your mirrors, because it does have a profound effect on you. So one of the fastest ways to feel good about yourself is to go, I'm enough. You might go, but that's too simple. Its strength is in its simplicity and indeed its honesty. I am enough. Say that every day. read this book. If you don't like it, I'll personally give you your money back, because I think it would change your life, because it makes you understand that changing yourself is not difficult. In fact, it's incredibly easy. People say, how long does it take to change? 21 days? Well, you can change in 21 seconds or 21 minutes if you just learn how to change your thoughts, because this is how it works. First come your thoughts, then your feelings, then your actions, then your behaviors. A belief is nothing more than a thought. You think a lot. Many people try to change their behaviors or their actions or their feelings, but if the thought comes first, you got to change the thought first. And changing your thoughts is easy. And in fact, it's free. So if you want to feel good about yourself, change your thoughts. Tell yourself every day that you're enough. Be nice to yourself. People say, I don't even know, what is that self-love? What does that mean? Well, it really means, how do you talk to yourself? Do you look in the mirror and go, oh, I look awful? Like you said, you look in the mirror and the first thing you do would be to criticize yourself. And you have to stop being a critic and become a cheerleader. In fact, if you did one thing, which was to minimize how much you criticize yourself and maximize how much you praise yourself, it probably would change your life, because there is nothing that boosts your self-esteem like praise. But your own praise is more impactful than someone else's. They have an agenda, but your only agenda is to feel good about who you are. So I would say praise, upping the praise and lowering the criticism is a powerful way to feel great about who you are. And it really, really works.
Well, I think about the insecurities and maybe the negative self-talk I have myself, and the statement of I am enough is perfect for every single one of them. It really does work for everything. It's amazing. RTT, what is it? How did you come to create RTT, and what was the reasoning behind it as well?
First of all, we were just talking about the enoughness, and I'd never met a client in my 34 years of being a therapist who said, I was born like this. Babies don't look at me, I'm having a bad day. Babies are naked with stuff coming out of every orifice, their nose, their eyes, their butt. They got fat little legs and no teeth, but they never think they're not gorgeous. And so the good thing is that all of your negative beliefs were acquired. Nobody is born thinking, I get fat if I look at food. I'm not good at being the focus of attention. I don't know what to say when you talk to me. In fact, if you ever go to a park or a pool, you'll hear kids go, Daddy, look at me, Mummy, look at me, watch me on the swing, watch me on the slide, watch me jump in the water. And it just doesn't occur to them that they're not worth praise and recognition. So the very good news is we're not born with that. So I started from there. If we're not born with these issues, where do they come from? And how do we get rid of them? And when I looked at the second part, how do we get rid of them? I realized that therapy is a very strange model. It's the only healing modality that says, bring me your pain, but I can't fix it for a long time. You wouldn't go to the emergency room with a broken leg, or the dentist with a broken tooth, or even the chiropractor with a painful back and say, hey, I'm in so much pain. They go, well, we've got to build a long relationship together, and then you can get better. One New Year when in London, when it was snowing, I fell over and broke my arm. I went straight to an emergency room. It was packed in there because it was so much snow. And they didn't go, well, you're going to have to come back and we've got to build up a relationship. They went, well, that's very painful. And if we don't fix it, we'll set the wrong way. And they set my arm. And many times when I've had an event where I've had to go to the dentist or the doctor, they've never said, we need to build up trust. And so it's a strange thing. I do understand it, the belief that if you trust me and I trust you over months and years, you can reveal your innermost issues and I can help you. But I found clients tell me that stuff in the first session because they trust me already. They trust that I'm going to help them, that I've got the skills and the training to help them. If you broke your leg in the street and called an ambulance, you wouldn't go, hey, how can I trust you? I'm a paramedic, you can trust me. So most therapists have been trained and you can trust them straight away. So I never understood that waiting, because my clients didn't have time to wait. I worked with suicidal teenagers, people who were so sad because they couldn't find love, people who were almost running out of time to have a baby, people who were miserable because they wanted to lose half their body weight, but just kept gaining weight. And none of them said, hey, I've got a couple of years. They all said, can you get me out of pain now? I just can't stand it for another minute. And I get that, because when you're in pain, you want to be out of pain. So I wanted to create a technique that was fast but powerful. And people said to me, really, the words rapid and therapy shouldn't go together. And I'm like, why? Why not? Why shouldn't it be rapid? We live in a fast world where we want everything to be fast. So I created my own method. But I created it because my own patients would say things like, gosh, when you did that thing last week, or when you said those words, or did that little thing, when you invited me to have a cheerleader, or made me dialogue with myself, or made me become the loving parent, wow, it changed my life. So really all I ever did was collate together all the things my clients told me were powerfully transforming, and put them into a technique. And then I've taught it now to 11,000 people, and they are having extraordinary results too. I mean, every day I wake up to testimonies from the people I've trained, or letters or cards about, hey, you'll never guess what's happened. And it really is the most wonderful thing that it's now working all over the world.
It really excites me as well, that does, because my only criticism of therapy is it's expensive. Like to do 2 or 3 years of therapy is just not an option for most people. Like it's not a possibility, and to be able to do it in a much shorter space of time and have effectiveness with it is amazing. And so I really, really love the work.
Yeah, I worked with a couple of suicidal police officers, and they said the same thing. They don't have 3 years. I mean, aside from the cost, you've also got to take all that time off work and go into town. And now you can do therapy on Zoom, on FaceTime, on Skype. And you can sometimes do one session. So that we do between 1 and 3 sessions, and it's extraordinarily powerful. But I don't think people want to have 5 years of therapy anymore. And that's not therapists' fault, because they've been taught that's what it requires, but it doesn't. It doesn't require that at all.
So if I was looking for somebody who delivered RTT, is it something that I would go online and find someone who's approved?
So go to rtt.com and you'll find someone, and you can look for a specialist too who specializes in, some of our grads specialize in infertility or childhood problems or eating disorders. So you'll find someone really good.
And I know obviously it's a broad spectrum of different lessons and lots of different things taught, but like what would somebody expect jumping into a RTT session?
So an RTT therapist is almost like an investigator. When you go see them, whether it's face-to-face or online, they never go, what's wrong with you? They always say, what happened to you? You might say, I haven't got a clue. I don't know why I do what I do. But the RTT therapists are looking straight away for clues. I'll give you an example. I worked with a girl who had hypersensitive skin. So her skin burnt every time she went outside. Very unusual. But she was condemned to staying in the house all summer. And even in the winter, she could only go out at nighttime. But then she was describing being bullied at school. And she said, I just wanted to stay home all the time. And that was a bit of what I got an ears prick up moment, because a child, without knowing it, makes a request. I want to stay home and never go to school, then I won't get bullied. And the mind thinks, well, I got to meet that request. And the fastest ways to create something could be panic attacks, could be constant diarrhea. It could be, in her case, hyperlight sensitivity. When a child thinks, I got to stop my mum's boyfriend looking at me funny because he's looking at my body and I don't like it, the mind says, okay, I got to make that real. And the fastest way is to become obese or get contact dermatitis or get chronic asthma, because now the mother's boyfriend is not going to touch you because you might get an asthma attack, or maybe you got this shedding skin. And so people don't understand, and there's no reason they would understand, that we make a request. We say things like, oh, I'm never going to stand up. When I was at school, I was asked to read out loud. I got all the words wrong. Everyone laughed. And I thought, I'll never speak in public again. And now 20 years have passed. I'm going for an interview. I got to give a little presentation and I'm falling apart. I don't want to do it, because the mind has a belief you don't want that. So we make decisions and requests when we're tiny. My mum never knows me, but now I'm sick. She's always here. Oh, I like being sick. I think I'll hold on to that. We forget we ever thought that thought. And so what a therapist does is they go back very quickly to how, why, when, and where something happened or you picked up a belief that this weird behavior could serve you or help you in some way. And once we've identified that, we then get rid of it, because many therapists try to get rid of a behavior or thought without understanding why it's there. You have to understand its origins, remove it, and then you have to do a third thing, which is really important. You have to put in something new. So rather like if you said, this computer's got a bug and it's really slow, you'd get in a software expert, he'd take out the bug and he'd upgrade your computer and it'd be all new and fancy again. Well, we have to upgrade our thoughts in the same way, upgrade our software, get the bug out of there. So it's a 3-step process of finding out why you are the way you are, removing the beliefs you picked up as a child, and then replacing them with something better. And it's very easy, but it's also very, very powerful.
I'm just wondering, when you found therapy, was there a moment of like clicking for yourself that you knew this was the thing you wanted to do and you had that awareness?
When I was going to be a school teacher, and I realized that I could be much better as a therapist, because teachers are often dealing with insecure kids, unhappy kids, bullied kids, but they just don't have the time to fix them. So I wanted to be a therapist working with children. And then I began that and realized that that's actually quite complicated, because often you have a mother and a father and the child as your client. And if they're divorced parents, they're on a different page. And then I realized that actually working with the adults that have the issues is better, because if I can get to adults, I can almost help them be better parents. So I always wanted to be a therapist from the time I was like 18 or 19. I always wanted to do that. But how I came about doing it, strangely enough, was I left college and I went to teach aerobics for Jane Fonda here in LA. And that was such an eye-opener to me, because I'd say that every third girl in my class was anorexic, bulimic, exercise compulsive. And I realized then that that was a mental illness. It doesn't mean they were mentally ill, but it was a mental illness. It was a disease of the mind that you simply couldn't fix with diet and exercise. And I began looking for ways of helping all these girls, and indeed men in my class. And that was in the 80s. They had anorexia, bulimia, body dysmorphia, exercise compulsivity, orthorexia, which is only going to be green and clean and organic. And it was so bizarre to be living in the middle of this, because they're all trying to fix it with diet and exercise, trying to fix it with aerobics and going on a diet of milkshakes and soups, but it wasn't that. There was something else. So it's like there's a girl in my book called, I think it's Jo, who had bulimia, and it was all to do with her father leaving when she was a kid. And she got love and candy all mixed up, because every time she saw him, he'd give her candy. And her mind got this belief that that's love. Candy is love and love is candy. And she'd had 40 sessions of therapy, not my therapy. And I worked with her once and it all made sense. And she said in the book, I went into a store and thought, oh, bless me that I really thought sugar could ever make me feel loved. And it was such a realization for her. And then there's another girl in the book who's very heavy, called Mo, whose sister died when she was little, and she felt that she had to be this sister unconsciously. So she got bigger and bigger, and always believed she had to recompensate her mother for losing another child. And it sounds very complicated, these stories. And of course, there is a belief, if the client has a complicated issue like bulimia or depression or anorexia, then the treatment is also going to be complex. And that's not true. The treatment can be really, really easy. I've worked with thousands of alcoholics and I have the same belief. I'm not enough. So I need more. And when you know you're enough, you can still have more, but you don't feel that need. I need more alcohol, more drugs, more cake, more something. So it's really all about working out what's wrong and fixing it all in the same session, not let's come in every week and look at what's wrong and fix it a year down the line. You can do it all at the same time.
I love that, the I am enough playing a huge role in that as well. It actually filled me with something there, and just hearing it again, the idea, because one of the things I actually suffered from myself for quite a while was binge eating. I used to binge eat. That was with the body image issues as well. And a lot of that, when you say I am enough again, it really does fill me with the idea that I don't need all this food, and that's not going to bring that happiness. And
Yeah, underneath all of our issues, whether we're shoplifting or hoarding or eating or drinking, it's all to do with what people describe this emptiness inside. And if I'm empty inside, I need more. But if I'm enough, if I can go, I am enough, I'm absolutely enough, I don't need what I can get more. I can improve my relationship, improve my body. But I'm not coming from a space of lack. I'm coming from a space of, well, I'm enough. It's like people say, I'm looking for my other half, but you're not half. You're not a half of a person looking for someone to complete you. You're already a whole, complete person. You can find a great person and you can enhance your life, but don't come at it from where's my other half? Who's going to complete me? I'm incomplete. You are complete and lovable and wonderful and amazing. And you don't need to be completed by having a baby or a partner or a career. But when you feel complete, you can have a baby and a partner and a career, because you're not coming at anything from a sense of lack, which again is the I'm enough is the opposite of I'm not enough. And it's like a ladder. You see, if you started off with a ladder and the first rung is I'm not enough, then the way you have to feel from that is a negative feeling. If you say I'm not enough, think, well, how would I feel? I'd feel sad. I'd feel defeated. I might feel pissed off, actually. I'd feel depressed. I'd feel helpless. And if you thought that thought and felt those feelings, how would you act? Well, you'd be defensive, probably. You might not take any risks. You might have inaction. I don't do anything. What's the point? I'm not enough. And if you went back to that ladder and took out the knot and said, I am enough, then how would you feel? You'd feel pretty good. You'd feel optimistic. You'd be a risk taker. You'd feel happy. You'd feel positive. You'd have a sense of certainty. It's all going to be okay because I'm enough. And then how would you behave? Well, you'd take action. You'd ask for that pay rise. You'd ask that person out. So it all goes back again to the thought. And your thoughts are yours to change. So when you look in the mirror and go, oh, I don't like my body. I don't like me. I don't like my voice. You have to stop all and then go, hey, I'm enough just the way I am. Play that Barry White song in your head. I love you just the way you are. Because it's true, nobody can love you unless you can love you. And if you don't think you're worth it, how can someone else think it? So if you want a pay rise, a promotion, an amazing relationship, you don't have, it's not about changing your weight, your shape, your face and going out and looking. It's about changing your thoughts. Everything comes back to believing you're worth it. So the only thing you need to do ever to have love, including the love of yourself, is to believe you're worth it. When you know you're worth it, then you can go out and get it because you know you're worth it. But when you don't know you're worth it, you can go out and look for it, but you'll always reject it because you're coming from it with, I don't really think I'm worth it.
If you're enjoying this interview, guys, please remember it is sponsored and made possible by mulliganbrothers.com, where you can now buy the Not a Journal and the Inspire Change t-shirt. Let's jump back into the interview. Some of the questions I'm asking you are coming from a point of trying to, I don't want to say negative, but trying to overcome stuff that's difficult in life that I feel like a lot of people face. But I know you do talk about succeeding and aspirations and even wealth and trying to achieve those kind of things. How does therapy come into play with those kind of things?
That's a very good question, because even our beliefs about money, our beliefs are often set before we're 5 years old. So even before the age of 5, 6, 7, 8, you have beliefs. Like one of my clients was telling me that her father used to lie on the sofa holding his head going, oh, this is the price you pay for running your own business. There's no time off. It's all down to you. There's no sick pay. And this will be the death of me. Or people hear mum saying, oh, I don't know where the money is. I can't find the money. Where's the money coming from? And one of my clients said that her mother used to have 3 little jars. One was for bills, one was for food. And whenever she wants, she'd try and work out all these jars and get really upset, going, oh my God, I got to buy you shoes. I can't pay the bill. And then if I can't pay the bill, and it was also stressful. And she picked up this, there's never enough money. It's a balancing act. And, you know, even that expression, I don't know where to find the money, is very confusing for a child, because none of us say, well, I'll go out and find them. We monetize a gift. We get employed. We get paid to do something we're good at. And so often children hear things like, the money is slipping through my fingers. I can't keep money. And if you want to have wealth, again, it's the same thing as love. The first thing, and it's the most important, is to believe you are worth it. You see, 70% of lottery winners are dead broke, bankrupt in 3 years. And isn't that weird? They went from nothing to immense wealth. I met someone who won, I think, 15 million pounds and lost it. Well, I met someone else who won 11 million pounds and was dead in 3 years because he just drank every day. And why is that? Well, they never believed they were worth that because they just got it. And so if you want anything, whether it's love or wealth or health or joy or success, you have to do it like this. Step one is you must believe you're worthy of it. And that can take a little while, but it's not exactly work. You just keep saying, I'm worth this. I deserve this. I deserve love. I deserve wealth. I deserve health. I deserve success. So really wiring you're worth it. Because 80% of having wealth and love is the belief that you are worth it. When you've done that, and you've got to do that first, then take a minute and decide, what does that look like? People say, I want to be a millionaire. I don't know, just want to be a millionaire. But no, you have to know for what. What are you going to do to be a millionaire? What are you going to do to find love? What does it look like, the kind of person you want? You know, one of my clients, I just wanted to marry a billionaire, and I married one, and I never see him. He's always on. Well, yeah, that's why he's a billionaire. He's always flying around the world, because I don't want that. You know, Phil Collins, I don't know if you remember that song, In the Air Tonight. He was away on tour, and his wife ran away with the decorator that was painting their home because he gave her some attention. She married a rock star, but he was always on tour. And we have to really think, you know, what do I want? What does it look like? Do I really want someone who's head of all these different companies? Do I really want to be married to a farmer? Maybe I don't want to live in the middle of nowhere. Do I really want to be with someone wild and crazy? Be certain of what you want. You want your own, like for me, I wanted to write books, but I knew what that looked like, because to write a book is the easy bit. The next bit, when you've written it, is all the promotion you have to do, like coming on and talking to you, giving talks at book signings, going around Barnes and Nobles and doing signings and going on the radio. And if you can't do that, you will never get a book deal. So you have to decide, you know, really know what it looks like. And then the third step is, are you going to do the work? You know, writing a book requires sitting at home for hours and hours and hours on your own. There's no one saying, let's go to the pub. Oh, you did a great job today. So decide you're worth it. Be very clear about what it looks like. And then go out and do the work, because so many of us have read the secret. I just manifest. I just sit home and manifest. Well, unless you want to fall in love with the Amazon delivery guy, you actually have to get off the couch. You know, people have got very confused. They think they can manifest everything they want while sitting in bed. But it doesn't really work like that. When I wanted a new house, I had to go and look at them. I could have just looked online, but it's not the same. It's like, I've kind of said, I want a baby, but I don't even have sex with my husband. I'm like, well, you know, you do need to have sex. They want, and some of them have IVF. They think it's easier, but it's not easier. So it's really the 3-step. I'm worth it. I know what it looks like, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Like if you wanted to be an Olympic athlete, you just go, okay, I know what that looks like. I can imagine going to the LA Olympics in 2000 and whenever it is, 20, I'm getting a medal. I know what it looks like. I know what it, but now you got to do the training. You got to do the working out. You can't just sit on the couch. So if you want to run a marathon, you better practice. And I think we've got very confused because we don't understand it's a 3-step process. I've done the last step. I'm doing the work, but I don't really think I'm worth it. I've done the first step. I think I'm worth it. I'm not doing the work. You have to do all 3. And if you do all 3, you can pretty much have whatever you want. I mean, I couldn't have imagined my life. I've got 2 homes, one in London, one in LA. I have a beautiful marriage. I have an amazing relationship with my daughter. I love my job. But, you know, the kid who thought she was a hideous, ugly freak, I could never have seen that as my life. But I did begin to see what I wanted. I didn't think I was worth it, but I changed that. And then I went out and got it. And it wasn't hard work. You have to be persistent and determined. But when you believe you're worth it, it makes you persistent and determined.
Absolutely love that. That's so fantastic. And I think that's going to really hit home with a lot of the viewers. Is there a practical exercise in terms of writing that, almost that vision of what they want? Or is it just feeling it?
Let's imagine you want a six-pack. That's not a big thing. I want a six-pack. So first of all, I've got to decide I deserve to have a six-pack. But what does it look like? Well, it looks like I'm not eating pizza every day, and I'm doing quite a lot of planks and stomach crunches. And now I know I've got to go out and do that. And if I think, I can't be bothered, then I don't really want a six-pack. But if I really want a six-pack, now I'm doing the lunges and the plank. But the magic to do it is to say these magic words. I love doing this, because often we don't love. I mean, I was doing some lunges the other day where I was standing in the kitchen, and I don't love them, but I love being in shape. So when I'm doing them, I go, oh, I love it. I don't go, oh, this hurts. My knees hurt. This is so boring. I say, I love it. I love it. I love it. Because, you know, the reason I call this book Tell Yourself a Better Lie is because I believe in lying, cheating and stealing. I lie to my mind, I cheat fear, and I steal back confidence. So when I say I love doing lunges, I love doing crunches, I have chosen to fit in my jeans, and I've chosen to do whatever it takes, and I've chosen to love it. My mind doesn't disagree, because it's a direction. When I go, you know, I could eat loads of cake, but I'm choosing health. I'm choosing to have berries instead of ice cream. I'm choosing to have crackers instead of lots of bagels. I'm choosing to have salad instead of pizza. That doesn't mean I never have pizza, but when I say I'm choosing it, and I'm choosing to feel great about it, like, you know, I'm drinking some fizzy water here with a bit of grapefruit in it. I could drink Coke or soda or beer, but I think, no, I'm choosing this because I'm choosing to feel great about it. And when you say the words, I'm choosing this and choosing to love it, your mind goes, oh, you've got a choice and you're choosing, therefore you want it. And there's no resistance. When you go, I got to eat this freaking rabbit food. Oh, this water's so boring. I got to drink black coffee, and I really want creamer and sugar. And then your mind says, you don't want this. So when you go to the gym going, I hate all these lunges, I hate all these crunches, you have to lie to your mind and go, I love it, I love it, I love it. After all, if you decided to have a sleeve of tattoos down your arm, you wouldn't go to the tattoo and go, hey, does it hurt? They go, of course it bloody hurts. You're going to come for a year to get this sleeve. But if you want it, you go, I'm so excited. I'm watching all this color, and this is my mum's face, and then there's a snake, and there's something else. And people who have tattoos don't go, oh, it's painful. They go, I'm so excited. I'm watching this beautiful scene. I mean, I've had clients who've had their breast tattooed, and that must be really painful, but they believe it's a work of art. And you see, what they do is when they go there, they choose to go to that, they choose to have it done, and they choose to be excited. But if you go the opposite way and talk about how much it hurts, it will hurt. So you have to understand something very simple but deeply profound. The way you feel about everything is down to the pictures and words you put in your head. And if you were going for a tattoo, you probably put good pictures and words in your head. But people who have needle phobias don't go for tattoos because they have a different picture. It's going to hurt. That needle's going to pierce my skin. I don't think junkies ever say, well, that hurt. They go, I'm going to get high now. I can't wait. So, you know, no vegan says, oh, you know, I'm going to miss bacon. Life isn't worth living without a roast beef dinner. They go, I just couldn't eat anything that had a face. And that isn't right or wrong, but people who've got their life together make different pictures. They put different words in their head. A vegan says, I love being vegan. It makes me feel great. Look how young I look. And I'm not saying we should become vegans unless we want to, but look at people who've got it together. No vegan says, gosh, every day I go past Greg's and I try to resist those sausage rolls. They go, I would never eat that. I chose not to eat that, and I feel great about my choice. So it comes back to these magic words. I'm choosing to do this, and I'm choosing to feel great about it. And if you say that, I've chosen this and I've chosen to feel great, your life becomes extraordinarily easy and very rewarding. And you can say that about diet, exercise, working on your website, working on your relationship, how you are with your kids. I've chosen this and I've chosen to feel great about it. And it just makes life so easy.
I really do. I love the analogies as well. They were fantastic. So let's just cover that to finish off. So tell yourself a better lie. Like how did you come up with that? I mean, the idea for me, when I think of tell yourself a better lie, I almost think of it in a negative way. But then when I deeply think about it, I think it's fantastic. Now that we've had this conversation, I feel that it really does make sense. But how would you explain it to somebody?
Yeah, I came up with it because my clients would come to my office every day and say, look at me. My legs are the size of tree trunks. This weekend, I've eaten like an out of control maniac. My life is a train wreck. I'm dying under my paperwork. My kid is making me want to kill myself. My husband is making me go insane. And I think, but none of this is really true. Your legs really aren't the size of tree trunks. You haven't really eaten out of control for 48 hours because I know you must have peed and had a little sleep. And I'm sure you weren't eating in the bathroom. No. So then you didn't really eat 24 hours. Your kid isn't really making you want to jump under a train, because I remember you saying that you spent £10,000 on IVF to have this child. Your husband that's driving you absolutely beside yourself. Imagine your life without him. There are widows out there who'd love to have your life. Your boss isn't really making you want to jump off a bridge, but we say things like, this is killing me. This is driving me mad. I'm going crazy here. My little girl came home and she goes, Mummy, how does Philippa get on the ceiling? And I said, I don't know. And this is my friend. And she said, but she's always going up the wall. And her experience, I'll go up the wall. If you make a mess, I'll go up the wall. If you get those crayons in the carpet. And of course, children are so literal, but the lie came from my clients who lied every day. I'm just falling apart. I'm out of bounds. I'm at the end of my rope. This is driving me crazy. This is making me lose my mind. And I remember saying to them, if you're prepared to lie, which is perfectly okay, tell yourself a better lie. My kids are acting age appropriate. I'm so lucky I have a husband, and it takes 5 minutes to pick up his clothes. And does it really matter? This commute is boring, but it's not driving me crazy. And I can listen to audiobooks. Yeah, it's a bit of a challenge being in the store on a Friday night getting groceries, but I've got a family to cook for that love me. I've got a memory like a sieve. Why don't you say I've got a great memory? If I look at a cake, I get fat, becomes I got a great metaphor. I'm terrified, becomes I'm excited. So it's a question of, you're already lying. You've already established you're lying. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. We've established you're lying. That's perfectly okay. But why not lie in a better way? I'm fabulous. I'm an idiot. Who's going to want me with 3 kids and cellulite? Well, I've already got all this love in my life for my 3 kids. I can have more love. It makes me more lovable. Who cares about cellulite? It's a question of looking at the existing lies that we all tell ourselves every day. How I exhausted. I mean, starving, and that's a word. Nobody in our country has ever been starving. Nobody's ever been famished, because famished means you're in a famine. So we all do it. We might as well just do it in a more skillful way. Like Muhammad Ali said, and I love that, he said, I told myself I was the greatest before I ever was. And then something amazing happened. I became the greatest. So that's a great thing to look at. Muhammad Ali never said, I'm all right, me, I've good days, I'm not bad. He said, I am the greatest. I float like a butterfly and I sting like a bee. He said, but it wasn't even true. But when I said it, it became true. And I love that, because it's like saying to your kid, I might have gone, because Mummy, I can't read this book. I said, let me look. I said, well, that book's 2 years older than you, darling. You're 7, that's for 9. Your teacher must think you're very, very clever. She said, give me that book back. And she said, I can read it. I said, of course you can read it, because your mind can see the words. And so, when she used to go to the door to go to school, she'd always come back and always said, what have you remembered? I never said, what have you forgotten? I said, what have you remembered? Because that's a better lie, don't you think? What have you remembered? And she goes, remembered my swimming stuff. I've remembered my lunch. I remembered my PE kit. And so the premise of telling yourself a better lie states with the fact you're probably lying to yourself already. I'm just a big fat mess. Look at the state of me. I look like I've been dragged through a hedge backwards. Well, clearly that's a lie. So why not just have a better one? Because it will probably change your entire life. And it's so easy. So it just becomes, I got a great memory from I'm an idiot. I'm a great person from I'm all alone. Who's going to love me? Who couldn't love me? I'm a lovable person. It's being kinder to yourself. You'd never say to your friend, well, of course you're single. I mean, you've got cellulite, or your clothes came out of Primark. You're just a waste of space. You would never say that to your friend. You'd say, darling, you're amazing. If someone doesn't want you, they're crazy. But we have to be our own best friend and talk to ourselves in a much kinder way. Practice self-love rather than self-abuse, because the more you can love yourself, the more lovable you become and the better your life is. And it's just, it's like you can walk into an exam going, oh God, I'm going to mess this up, or hey, I've got a fantastic memory. And every time I go on stage or even in front of a camera, I lie to myself. I say, I love this. Oh, there's nowhere I'd rather be than doing a live interview with the BBC. It's not true. I'd often be rather lying on my sofa watching Game of Thrones, but I don't say that. I go, I love this, love it, love it, love it. Because when I say it, amazingly, it becomes my reality.
Mm.
When I don't run a lot, when I used to run, I'd set off and I go, I love running. I love running. And I really didn't love running. I'd much rather laying on the sofa watching, I don't know, a movie. But I told myself I loved it. And then what happened is it became amazing when I first became a writer. And writing's very isolating. I'd say, I love writing. There's nowhere else in the world I'd rather be than sitting here writing this book, which wasn't true. But what was so amazing is within weeks it became true. I thought, oh, I love writing this book. There really is nowhere I'd rather be in this minute than writing this book. So pick your lie, pick it like an Olympic athlete would go, I love training, so excited about I'm going to get a gold medal. Pick your lie, repeat it to yourself. And by picking a good lie, you can probably make it real.
I've had that for myself on many occasions, but the one I can think of at the moment is I wake up really early, and I used to dread it. I used to dread waking up early in the morning, and then I used to tell myself how much I loved waking up in the morning, how much more time I had in the day, how much more productive I was, and now I genuinely just love getting up early. It doesn't mean that at the same time a lie-in feels great, but yeah. I prefer how much I can get done, and I do genuinely enjoy it for myself a lot more getting up early.
Our words shape our reality, so pick your words carefully. And if you look at people living their best life, there's certain things, I love it. I love having children. I love ironing. I love ironing because I think about how much I don't love ironing, but I know people say I love cooking, love cleaning, love ironing, love gardening. People who live their best life use the word love a lot. I love doing yoga. I love drinking water. I love meditating. You can make yourself love anything if you use the right language, and you can make yourself hate anything by going, oh, I hate this. And some of the stuff we hate, it's just not worth hating. Why would you hate being in a store buying food when that's someone else's fantasy dream come true? And when you go, when I went to parts of Mexico, parts of Cuba, parts of South America, you really realize that just going to a store and having money to buy food is a great gift. There are people who would love your problem. They'd love to stand in a line in Tesco waiting to pay for their shopping with money on their credit card. So your problem really is someone else's fantasy dream come true. And that helps a lot too. What is it, someone who'd switch places? Yes. And what would you have given 10 years ago? Have everyone sitting on the motorway in traffic going to a job that you're kind of lucky to have?
Mm.
I mean, I used to do that. I used to drive my daughter to school, and we went over Hammersmith Bridge, and the other bridge was shut, and the journey went from being 20 minutes to an hour. And it's very easy to go, oh, I hate this. But I remember looking at people standing at bus stops with their kids and Some of them are doing 3 journeys. Like, well, I'm so lucky. I've got a car. I've got heating on in the car. I've got music. Got my little cup of tea here in the little console. I can talk to my daughter, to the love of my life. I've got a whole hour to hang out, and we can do stuff together. And it wasn't ideal, but that was my choice. I could go, this is hell. This is the worst way to start with. This is a nightmare. This commute. Or I could say, you know what? I'm so lucky. I could be doing 4 buses to get my daughter to the school, and how lucky we are that we're in the car together with each other, having an hour together to hang out.
I love it. I love the frame of mind, like to be able to switch it. If someone was to look into yourself and resources that you provide right now, where would you direct them to?
If you want some free audios, we've got lots of free downloads on love blocks, wealth blocks, health blocks, etc. Go to marissapeer.com. They're all free, and we have all these free audios on overcoming your blocks. If you want to train with me and do what I do, or find someone that's done what I do, go to rtt.com. And if you want some of these bracelets to join the I'm Enough movement, go to imenough.com. And you want a book that will change your life in a couple of hours of reading, go to Amazon and buy Tell Yourself a Better Lie.
So I know you've authored quite a few books. Would that be the book you'd recommend right now?
All my books are interesting, but they're all different. So I have books on weight and confidence and infertility and aging. But I think this one, people say it is my best work, I guess, because this one is different. It's got 10 case histories of clients, what happened to them, how I fix them. At the back, it's got something called RTT for me. And it isn't to replace therapy, but it shows you can actually do some very simple therapy techniques on yourself. If you lack confidence, if you lack self-esteem, if you feel not enough, if you're using those classic, I'm eating, I'm sabotaging, I'm self-destructing, then the techniques in here will probably help you overcome it without needing therapy. But for bigger stuff, it's better to have therapy. But it does show you some things you can do yourself to feel really good about yourself.
I love it. Is it available on Audible as well?
Yeah, it's Audible, Kindle, and book form, but it also has in it 4 downloads. It has the cheerleader, it has a confidence, it has a healing vortex, and it has something called command cell therapy that shows you how to kind of reset your body so that you're less likely to succumb to infection and illness.
I'm excited. I'm going to dive into it myself on audible.com, but everything will be linked down below. In terms of social media websites, where's the best place people can find you?
You can find me everywhere. I'm so lucky that I'm called Marisa Peer because there's only one of me. So I'm on Facebook, Marisa Peer. I'm on Instagram, Marisa Peer. YouTube. If you put in Marisa Peer with 1 S, you'll find me everywhere.
Thank you so much for your time today. Like, it really is appreciated. I know people will get a lot from it, and I'm excited to dive into it even more as well. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
And there you go. A wonderful interview with Marisa Peer. My only criticism of therapy for myself was that it's very expensive, and the RTT method and the stuff that Marisa teaches, I think, could be a massive help for a lot of people. So it's all linked down below. So please go check that out. Please go check out the book. I am going to go download the Audible book right now. Please go check that out. It's something that I'm going to get into. It's something I've just recommended to one of my brothers as well. And that's the genuine truth of it. Like, these are the kind of things we need to be open to. For me, the biggest click of success and the biggest click of getting the dream body that I always wanted was all mental. I always felt I remember feeling stuck financially at one point, and I was like, is this it? Am I ever going to get out of this position? And it took genuinely believing that I was worth it, and I was capable, and it was a possible thing for me, and I deserved to have big success, that it all started happening. So yeah, these things and working on ourselves, it might seem almost frivolous, and you might think that sometimes it's better just to brute force it. And whilst I do believe in brute force and taking extreme action on your goals, there is a thing about mindset and making it work for you mentally and in your head. So please go check our stuff out. Today's video was sponsored by mulliganbrothers.com, where your support by buying these journals, which have been selling amazing, guys. So thank you for the support. But that support means that we can fly around the world and produce these pieces of content. Luckily, Marisa was over Zoom today, but I'm hoping to go visit her and film this in person as well. So thank you very much for your support, guys. Go follow me on Instagram if you want to see more behind the scenes, at Jordan Mulligan, brother. And yeah, have a blessed and productive day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.